Hey everybody, how are you doing? This is Kirsten here, and you are watching A Better Way with Kirsten podcast. If you are on YouTube and you're listening to the same podcast, maybe you are on Spotify or Apple Podcast, it's still the same A Better Way with Kirsten podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so you always get a notification when I post a new video. And if you are listening to it on one of the podcast apps, then there you can follow me and you can also leave me a 5-star rating and a review. That would be super, super helpful. There are about 28 or something like that reviews on iTunes. That's so great. So thank you. And I think there's only one right now on Spotify. So if you want to be the second one to add a review, that would be really, really sweet. Thank you so much for doing it because that way you can just show your support if you find this podcast helpful and beneficial. I really try to bring it to every week, twice a week. So if you could do that little thing that takes you about a minute or so, that would be so, so awesome because that way more people will find this podcast too. On this podcast, we're talking about chronic sensations and pains in the body that you might be experiencing that are called TMS. If you don't know what TMS is, it is a condition in the body where you get those aches and pains and sensations all the time. They have become chronic. They have been going on for months and months, sometimes years, and sometimes even decades. And nobody has been able to truly help you. You've been to several doctors and other health practitioners, and they have not been able to help you because they don't know what's up, or the treatments that they're trying on you, they're not helping, and you're just not getting better. All you're getting is more frustration and more questions. So, if this is the case, it's really time to look into TMS. Now, TMS means that these problems are likely coming from your heightened nervous system, and your brain is just making a mistake. It's telling you that something's wrong with you, but it's not true. There's nothing wrong with you. You are just overly stressed. And you can have all sorts of symptoms. I would say the absolute classic seems to be low back pain, but there are so many other things too. A lot of people have GI issues, numbness, tingling, burning sensation, stabbing sensation, bladder problems, sinus issues, chronic fatigue. Oh my goodness, so many things. And believe it or not, it's absolutely possible that there's nothing physically going on with you that would be harmful or bad or wrong with you, but these sensations are caused by our nervous system. So how do you know? Like I said, nobody's been able to truly figure out what's up. The traditional treatments have not helped you. So if this is the case, then of course, check out these methods here that I talk about here. But of course, I want to make sure that you have been checked out and you know that there's nothing physically bad going on that you need to pay attention to. Okay, so on this podcast, I'm sharing with you tips and tools that have helped me to deal with the same thing, years of chronic low back pain. And I'm going to share from my experience and also what I've seen helping other people. So some of the things that are really causing these problems are, well, it's all actually psychological. So they are coming from your mind, from your emotions. It is true that it does happen. And as weird as it may sound, it totally is the case. It can be so hard for people to trust this. And I have people in my own family too who have these problems. And I can clearly tell because I've been in this world for a long time. I can clearly tell that what they're dealing with is TMS because they got a surgery and the pain just moved to a different location, or they got surgery and they say, oh, yeah, it helped, but only for 2 months, and I still have to be super careful with everything that I do. Well, if surgery helped you, why do you have to be so careful? And why is the pain now in a different place? So all these things are kind of like, yeah, is it really? But then, a lot of people are not very open to this idea that it could be TMS, and they could say things like, oh, but my pain is real and you're not getting it. I'm like, you're telling me, like, I had like close to 7 years of chronic back pain. I know very well, too well, what it's like to have that chronic pain. So I know what you're going through. So I'm not making your pain smaller or telling you that you're crazy or lost your mind. I'm just want to tell you what's actually going on. But a lot of times people are not open to it. I'm like, nah, my thing is different. Okay, that's fine. A lot of people aren't open to that. But those who are, and maybe you're one of them, I hope that I can help you with this podcast a little bit. Okay, so today we're going to talk about one specific sensation in your body, and that is tightness. So if you have tightness anywhere in the body, typically in the low back, which is what I had so long, and sometimes it is in your neck, or in your shoulders or in your hips or whatever it is. And it can even be like if you're constantly constipated, that's actually tightness, right, in your stomach. So this can also be caused by your emotions, the way you are, like how you go through your life, your days, your personality traits. I have a whole course on this. It's called Emotionally Fit. Check it out. It is in my show notes. And there we deal with a lot of these things, like how to get better at expressing yourself, how to feel your emotions, how to understand your personality traits and make some changes there, soften these traits so that you can start getting relief from your symptoms. So all of that is in this course. So it's a really cool course. I'm very proud of it. So check it out if you're interested. But I want to come back to tightness. And I want to ask you, what do you think is the message that this chronic tightness in any part of your body that you experience on a regular basis is trying to tell you? So let's imagine that this tightness could speak. What would it say? Can you think? And I want to tell you what I think it wants to tell you is that you have this tightness in your body, and it's telling you that you are too tight and rigid and inflexible in your life, the way you're living your life. That's what's going on, because our bodies reflect what's going on in our minds. The mind is always leading the way, and your body's going to follow. So if you are so rigid and so tight and so structured that you have like no room for any error in your life, all your, you have to be so controlling all the time, then this can show up as tightness. And you can notice also, is there a correlation between how much tightness and tension you have in your body, chronic tightness and tension? Is there a connection between that and how you've been living your life? Like, if you've had more anxiety recently because something's going on, you may feel like, oh, yeah, my right side is so much tighter than usual. Well, there you go, because you've been more stressed and more tight and more rigid and more inflexible, right? Not talking about physical flexibility here, but flexibility is, living your life that way. So if you are a person whose main symptom or one of the main sensations, chronic sensations, is tightness, then I'm going to make a guess and share with you 6 things that I think you are doing, or what kind of person you are, probably, because you have this tightness. So the first one is that you are a person who needs to be in control all the time, right? You're very afraid of the unknown. If I don't know how things are going to be exactly, that's going to cause so much anxiety. And you're like, oh my goodness, I just can't. So I have to know every single thing. I have to be super in control. So here's an example. You're planning to go out with friends a couple of days from now, let's say on a weekend or something like that. And several days before you're going, you have to know exactly the details, right? Who's going? Where are we going? Where are we going to have dinner? What's on the menu? How long are we going to be out for? Uh, what exactly is going to happen? So you need to know everything, right? And you're just so tight. Can you see like how you're thinking about it? Probably like, all the questions that I just said, who, when, where, how long, blah, blah, blah. You are not allowing any flexibility there. You're not allowing any surprises that you have to know in detail. So this is one of the things that is probably describing you. The second thing is that you need to do everything perfectly, right? Absolutely no room for error at all. You don't allow this. You're like, if I don't do things perfectly, I'm not going to do them at all. But this is a very dangerous mindset. This is what puts you in this very tight and this rigid and inflexible place, right? Perfect, perfect, perfect. Like if I make a mistake, this is bad. So I'm going to pressure myself even more so that I can do things perfectly. Well, what's this pressure causing? Tension and tightness, right? Gonna give you an example here. Let's say that you have decided that you're gonna start working out. Okay, you may think right now, Kirsten, you're crazy. Like my TMS is so bad, I can't even move. What are you talking about working out? Well, let's say that you are in a place where you are ready to work out. And by the way, I think that even if you have TMS, you can still get started. I have a fantastic beginner level program, Train to Build Starter. Again, in the show notes, in the show description, check it out. So you've decided that I'm going to start working out 3 days a week. And now there's going to be like one day when you feel really tired or something comes up, or you're feeling like you're getting sick or something, and your body's just not up for it. It's like, doesn't want to work out. And you're like, you can't let that go. You can't skip a workout because you're like, but I promised myself I'm going to be perfect with it. I promised myself I'm going to do 3 workouts every single week. I just cannot like skip that workout. And guess what? You're putting so much pressure on yourself. Can you see again, like this tightness, like you're so rigid, you're so tense with the way you're living your life that now is coming out as physical tension, pressure, and tightness. The next thing is that you have very little room for anything spontaneous, right? And you just, unfortunately, you're also going to miss out on a lot of fun things because you think that if you don't know everything exactly, then you just, this is not good or you have to be in control. So there's nothing spontaneous really. And there's very little fun. So your days may look like super scheduled, or it can sometimes look like an Excel sheet, like every cell is filled with something, and you're just living your life like this. And unfortunately, like I said, you're going to miss out on a lot of fun too, because sometimes the fun stuff is in the spontaneous stuff, but you're just not allowing any of this into your life. And again, you're super rigid, you're tight. You're also not gonna get these positive emotions that are very healing that you can get from fun. Life is fun. Maybe somebody's like calling your, like, I don't know, your husband wants to take you out on a random date night. You're like, oh, but I wasn't planning this, and no, right, I can't. So you're just so tight and rigid, you're not going, and you're going to miss out on fun, right? And that's why healing is harder for you too. You actually need these positive emotions and more fun in your life. The next thing, if you have a lot of tightness in your body, then you probably have very hard time adjusting to situations where something little bit unplanned comes up. Let's say that you have an appointment or some kind of Zoom call with somebody or something like that. And it's going to get pushed back by 10 minutes. Or there's, I don't know, like a different day at school for a kid. And now you have to take your kid to school like 10 minutes before, something like this. Like it's relatively like minor thing. And of course, if you have something super important right after that, it can actually throw off your schedule a little bit. But let's say that you don't actually have anything like so urgent, like right before or right after that. But now even just the thought of like having a 10-minute interruption into your day, that can totally throw you off. You're like, oh my goodness, now I have to like reorganize my entire day and rearrange this and that. And you go into with this like very catastrophizing mind, as if it's really like the end of the world that you have to, adjust and adapt. And truly, there's nothing really that bad going on. It's just your fear because you like the comfort, or like the knowing, right? You need to know all the time. That's the problem. But truly, when you think about it, it's not that big of a deal if something gets moved around by 10 minutes. You can handle it. It's going to be all right. But if you can't handle it, it just shows like how tight and tense and rigid you are. And start thinking maybe you can loosen up a little bit here. Like a little schedule interruption is nothing so big. Typically not. The other thing that's probably true is that you are pushing yourself to the extreme with your work. Whatever you're doing, if you're passionate about it, or if you're not, if it's just like something that you have to do because you're committed to it, you are pushing yourself as hard as you can. Even when you are supposed to take a break and relax, you can't fully do it because you're always thinking about all the things that you still have to do and didn't do, instead of thinking, okay, I got, plenty of things knocked off, the list that I had to. You're still focusing on the things that are undone. So sometimes you may totally lose track of time and keep working and working and working. And I've admitted it here too. Like I have a little bit of this problem too. Part of it is because I really love what I'm doing, but part of it is also like I feel like I have to. So this has been really hard for me. But now, because I have the luxury of working for myself and working from home, I totally, like, I would say the past half a year or so, I've taken so many more breaks. And like during the day, just like laying down for 10 minutes, putting on a little meditation, something like that, just to relax more, to clear my mind. Because truly, like, what can be so urgent in these 10 minutes that can't be done a little bit later, right? So taking more breaks is important, because if you're pushing yourself super hard, what's that? That's pressure. You feel that in your back, in your shoulders, in your anywhere in your body, this tightness and tension. So be careful with that, with your work, like how much you push yourself, and start creating more space. And then the last thing It's kind of similar to the last one, but if you have frequent tightness and tension in the body, you probably feel like you have to be productive all the time. You need to produce, do things, do things. So, for example, you wake up in the morning and you open your eyes, you're already, your head is spinning with all the things that you think I have to get done today, must get done today. So you get started and you are truly never present, with this thing that you're working with right now, this moment. You're never truly present. Instead, you're already thinking, what's the next thing that I'm going to do? What's the next thing that I'm going to do? So I talked about this in one of the recent episodes too, that was about urgency. If you're always living this urgent mindset, your mind is just, there's so much pressure, there's so much tension in there. And this is what your body is feeling. Because, like I said, your mind is always leading. Your mind shows the way and the body follows. So if you're in your head, you're super tight and tense because you have all these thoughts and all these self pressures, then this is what you're going to feel in your body too. So these were just a couple of examples, but there are probably many other ways how you're very hard on yourself. You pressure yourself in every imaginable way, and you're so terrified to loosen up a little bit. But it is okay, and this is the point here today. It is okay to let some things go, and not everything can be a priority. Like you are not somebody who has to like do. You're not like a human doing, right? You're a human being, right? And now if you're pushing all the time, that's not good for you. So start practicing letting go a little bit more. For example, it's okay to leave some dishes in the sink. Like what harm can happen from it? But you can actually feel like, okay, I'm just gonna let that go right now because I need to take some time for myself. Right. I'm not talking about having like piles and piles of dirty dishes. Yeah, that's uncomfortable and that's gross and that's not good. But if you have like a couple of things here and there and like, yeah, okay, I guess I go to bed, I'll deal with it tomorrow, it's gonna be all right. Or you have an email and you're like, oh, I have to get back to, all these people who have emailed me. Like, do you really have to get back to everybody today? Like, why? Why is it that you have to get back to everybody today? And then sometimes like you get back to the person right now and like so tense and like I have to. The other person is like getting back to you like, I don't know, a week later. And then like, why did I push myself like so much? Maybe they didn't even open my email for the next 7 days, right? So why are you pushing so hard? And again, of course, there are times and there are moments when some things are urgent. So definitely not saying that this is never the case, but does it really have to be with like everything in your life, like so much urgency and intensity and everything? And then what I talked about before, like getting your scheduled move around, like 10 minutes, something like that. Instead of thinking like, oh, that's the worst thing, how I'm gonna rearrange the whole day now. Instead of thinking that, just like letting it go. It's just like a couple of minutes. It's fine, right? It's fine. Just like your brain is really trying to make things a lot bigger. And this is not to like say that you're like wrong or bad or broken or oh my god, but just to bring you this awareness that what's going on is that your brain is like magnifying this stuff, like the consequences that your brain thinks that these things have, right? Like if I leave some dishes in the sink or don't get back to that email or my schedule changes by 10 minutes, like your brain may really think like, oh my god, that's so huge, and that causes this urgency. And this is where you have to step in and say, no, I'm not going to do this right now. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to come back to it tomorrow or next week, or I can rest now. I can take a break now. Because this tension in the body means that your nervous system is asking you to relax and let go a little bit, um, so that you can recover and that tension can go away. And I promise that it works. So if you start having more breaks, more like intentional, like pauses in your day, because if you think about it, like, if you know about the two sides of the autonomic nervous system, one is the sympathetic, like, go, 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 do stuff, do stuff. And the other one is the parasympathetic, where rest and digest and healing can happen. Now think about how much of your day do you spend in one versus the other. And if you know that spending more time in this rest, digest, healing, which is parasympathetic mode, this is essential for your healing, then can you be surprised if you're never in this side of your autonomic nervous system? If you're never there, how can you heal? And if you're always putting so much pressure on yourself, then this is where you are. You are in the opposite side of it, in the sympathetic, very activated, like super activated. all the time. It's, I think it's impossible to heal there, because in order to heal, you need to calm down. You have to bring a lot more calm and peace into your life, and it will start happening. I am a big fan of like meditations. I think they're very calming, very relaxing. I really enjoy them. And like I said before, like when I work, like during the day, I take those breaks. There's so many places where you can find meditations. You know, YouTube is here. You're listening to a podcast app, like even on Spotify, you can find them. You can, of course, find them on Insight Time or something like that. Find somebody whose voice you really enjoy. Like I personally like meditations without any background music. I just like somebody's like calming and soothing voice. Just put that on for 10 minutes. I have some that I've saved that are like 20 minutes. It's just so relaxing. You just let go, right? So you get out of that super activated state and more into this like calm and chill state where healing can happen. So pay attention to your symptom of tightness. Do you have a lot of it in your body? If if you do, then I think I described you in today's podcast. So start treating yourself a little bit better. Be kind to yourself. Take more breaks, relax, and be patient with it. All right. Thank you so much for being here today. It was great that you're here. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day. And I'll see you again in the next episode. Take care.